Hello, this is Shieldwall 100 and welcome to a Batman Miniatures game battle report. We'll be playing the third edition of the rules, and in this encounter we are featuring the Soldiers of Fortune led by Deathstroke the Terminator against the League of Assassins led by Ghul. Okay, well, let's have a look at what the crews are for this particular encounter. Okay, here we are with the Soldiers of Fortune crew. As I said earlier, they're being led by Deathstroke the Terminator. He can become a leader for this faction by forsaking his free agent status, and it just represents him, I presume, taking on a particularly dangerous job and having to assemble a crew of mercenaries to help him in that. Yep, he's taking his equipment loadout of his bastard sword and modified assault gun for this particular encounter. That's what I modelled him with, and that's what I'm sticking with. Okay, moving on. We've got the Soldiers of Fortune sidekick level bird here. He is a good all-rounder. Moving on, we've got the Elite Op, one of my personal favourites. Yeah, that gun is serious on there. Then the Dreadnought Op for some close combat muscle. I just like the model, to be perfectly honest. And finally, a mainstay whenever I play, the Infiltrate Op, since she was released a short while ago. Yeah, she's incredibly useful in the right situations, both for just annoying the opponent and also for manipulating suspect markers. Alright, facing off against them on the League of Assassins side, we have a leader of Ghul. He's a serious contender for best model in the game, possibly. Yeah, and following on, as a sidekick unusually, I'm taking his daughter Talia. I just want to use the model, to be perfectly honest. I do have Lady Shiva, who's the other sidekick, sorry. But I just wanted to use this one, and she's, looking at her rules, she's pretty powerful as well. Carrying on, we have Ubu, Ghul's bodyguard. Yep, he's another nice model. Really like using him. Probably quite useful against the Soldiers of Fortune as well, with their propensity for being able to take out high value targets. So yeah. And to round out the force, I have taken 3 of the Assassins, which are in the Demon's Air Bat box with Talia. Yeah, again, I usually use the other Assassins. I wanted to try these guys out instead, hoping to see what they can do. Okay, here we are after deployment, but before the first turn. We actually drew Showdown. I'll just see if I can show it to you here. There we go. Yes, it's just a fairly standard deployment, but both sides had to reveal where their leaders were going first, basically. And yes, both sides actually have quite a lot of important deployment shenanigans going on, so you will actually be surprised at how mixed up this board has been after the initial moves were made, before any actual turns have happened though. So I'll just try and explain the madness right now. In the standard part of the board, we actually have Ghul and Ubu at the back here, firmly in their deployment zone, with Talia down here. Yep, just bringing up the rear. But the actual Assassins were given various bits of war gear, which allowed them to do some quite interesting things. So you've got one of them over here in front of the HFC, and the 2 others have managed to get quite far forwards in the park itself. I think you can just about make them out there against the brightly coloured backdrop. Yes, lots more shenanigans coming up from them, I hope. On the Soldiers of Fortune side, you've got Deathstroke did his free move to vault into the park itself. Looks like he's going to just about to take out some frustration on that child's merry-go-round. You've got Bird and the Dreadnought Op at the back, nicely within Inspire range, of course. And yeah, so they're both together because they're quite, it's good to have your models in pairs, I found, at least. A bit like Necromunda used to be, actually. Giving fire support at the top, firmly in the deployment zone, you've got the Elite Op over there. You can see him perched on top of the Capital Metro. Hopefully that doesn't turn out to be a bad placement for him. And In the shadows, the infiltrate op is infiltrating, of course. And I don't know if you'll be able to make her out. I'll see if I can get her on the camera. There she is. She's hiding behind that pillar using the hidden rule that enables her to deploy anywhere out of line of sight, and she certainly was when she was placed there. Yeah, I mean, I was tempted to put her on the rooftops, but she doesn't tend to achieve an awful lot there. She's got quite a lot of useful, like, jiggery-pokery skills, like hacking and whatnot, which really help if she's nearby enemies, rather than, you know, messing up on her own, trying to shoot things. You don't think you really get your points. And hey, it's only a game. Let's see what happens to her. Okay, I've amalgamated the first two phases, the take the lead and raise the plan phase of the first turn, just to show you what's going on. In the take the lead phase, first of all, as part of their chance, the Soldiers of Fortune played this card. See if I can get it out of the light reflection. Well done, me. Domination. Okay, it's one they have to play at the beginning of the turn. They have to place a domination marker here. Next to an enemy figure, in this case one of the assassins just there. Yep, and it's a race to see by the end of the turn who has the most models nearest that marker. So it's very good for dragging the opponent over to parts of the board they might not be able to get to if they've got an isolated model over there and you're going there anyway. And yes, you stand to gain a big 3 victory points for that one. So it's very useful for Soldiers of Fortune just to try and disrupt their opponents, even if they don't score it. It's annoying for the opponent to have to deal with. What else? Oh yes, we rolled for initiative, and there it is. The blue dice on the right is the League of Assassins roll, so they clearly have the initiative this turn. They'll be going first. Ghul does give them a +1 to the die roll as well. They didn't need it this time, but who knows if that'll be useful in the future. Moving on to the second phase, the raise the plan phase. It's where we basically distribute audacity. So we're picking which models will get to use most of their, to get the most use out of their actions this turn. On the League of Assassins side, it was quite simple. You always give it to Ghul. I've learned that the hard way. Ubu's got it because there's enemies getting rather close to the middle. The two assassins also got an audacity each. On the Soldiers of Fortune side, likewise, you always give your leader audacity. It'd be criminal not to give it to Deathstroke, to be honest. The two guys at the back, Bird and the Dreadnought Op, also, because they've got some plans to do. And finally, of course, you can just see her peeking out over there. The Infiltrate Op has audacity on her in order to be able to make use of her assault weapon, maybe do some special hacking, or just place some markers of her own. Okay? And I almost forgot, actually, Talia here has an ability. I believe it's called Manipulative, yes. When this model's in a crew, you redeploy things, but also end of each raise the plan phase, so that's now. Nominate one model, I'll say it's an enemy model, to take a willpower roll. If this fails, the target model must be the last model in its crew to be activated that round. Well, out of all the Soldiers of Fortune, the one who obviously they'd like to be activated last is probably Deathstroke, but he's also probably the least likely to fail a willpower roll. She's actually going to go for the Elite Op standing up there, because him gunning down models before they've had a chance to move is quite annoying. So let's see what he can do. I'll just pick up some dice. Now, willpower rolls, you roll 3 dice and pick the 2 lowest. If it was an ability she was using, such as Hypnotise or something, she could effort to reduce the number of dice to make it 2 dice roll, 2 dice straight. But he's rolled, but he can't do it, I don't think, in this situation. So he's rolling 3 dice, picking the 2 lowest. His willpower is 5. So we'll see what I don't know what the odds are off the top of my head. So I'll roll them in here. So there we go. Pick out one of the highest. So that's 8. So the Elite Opt, as I said, willpower is 5. So that very much exceeds it. So the Elite Op has been manipulated. The Elite Op has been manipulated into activating last this turn. So that will be an interesting thing to see how this pans out. Okay, let's get on with the first turn. Alright, so for the very first move of the game, we activated Assassin 3. He was in the middle. He was within inspire range of Ghul, so he got an extra manipulate for that. He used that to put down a suspect marker here, and then he actually used an attack, one of his throwing knives, not poison knives, to target the light source, the lamppost that was just about here, I think. Yeah, just there. And it's an automatic removal. He's basically thrown a knife, taken out the light, so that it throws the middle of the board into darkness, which will help against the much more shooty Soldiers of Fortune list that's going on here. Right, he then decided to move not towards Deathstroke, but away from Deathstroke because he's a canny ninja, and he decided to jump over the fence. Took 4 inches off his movement for impairment, and yes, he's resolved himself just there. Okay, and now let's see what the Soldiers of Fortune are going to do. And in return, the Soldiers of Fortune activated Bird. What he did first was he had Audacity. He used his special action to activate his Military Tradition skill, which enables other friendly models with Veteran, which is basically anyone in the same force as him at this point, within 8 inches of him to get an extra 2 inches move. So he moved up Deathstroke a little bit, and Dreadnought both got an extra little 2-inch bonus there. He then decided he would move up around this corner here, as you can see, place a suspect marker of his own, and that enabled him to score the Black Ops objective card. What that allows him to do basically is score points if he places an objective out while he and the suspect marker he places is out of sight of an enemy. Here we are. Here's a nearby enemy. It's out of sight. He definitely scores it. That gets the Soldiers of Fortune definitively off the 0 scoring mark. Okay, let's see what the League Assassins will make of that. Right, yes, as the League of Assassins' next move, what they did was they activated this assassin, number 1, I believe. He didn't have Audacity, so he can't do an awful lot, but he really wanted to get that domination marker away from the approaching Soldiers of Fortune models. And as part of the card, it says you can manipulate it, which is what he did. He was in contact with it as the card stipulated. He moved it 4 inches directly back along the shop front there, away from the ever quickly approaching Dreadnought op. So basically, he's still within 4 inches of it. However, Bird around the corner no longer is. If the Soldiers of Fortune want to score this, they're going to have to come and get it. Well, what a return, eh? The Soldiers of Fortune activated the Dreadnought op as their next move. He had Audacity. He stormed round the corner and attacked the assassin who just dared to move the domination marker just a second ago. He activated, because he had Audacity, he had a special action which he used to activate his Devastating Blow ability, which gave him a +1 strength and bleed 1 on his attacks. Not that he really needed it. The assassin, in an effort to just reduce the collateral damage coming his way from those 2 tomahawks, efforted 3 times. Dreadnought op efforted 3 times back to redress the balance. After all the dice are said and done, 3 hits got through, including strength die, and that was more than enough to knock out the assassin. He has 4 willpower anyway, so 1 hit getting through would have done it. But he also takes 3 blood into the bargain, so yeah, he's knocked out. That's the first blood to the Soldiers of Fortune. We'll see what happens next. Oh, and I did forget to mention that as part of the turn, the Dreadnought op, on his way round there, he played Global Offensive as his objective card for his activation. Have more friendly models with a veteran trait in play than there are enemy suspects. Well, there's only one League of Assassins suspect marker in play at the moment, and every single one of the Soldiers of Fortune crew is a veteran, so he easily scores that. So yes, the Soldiers of Fortune really look to be taking an early lead in this game. Right, moving back to the League of Assassins, The assassin number 4, I think is how he's labelled, had a go next, and he was actually down here. We've moved around a bit so for better camera angles. He was actually down here in the park. He placed a suspect marker because he was still within inspire range of Ghul. He then actually has a grapple claw, which I paid for it out of equipment funding for him, and he used that with his normal move and his special action to jet up here to take on at least the elite operative. He's no easy mook though, this elite operative. He's actually quite a solid piece of work himself, but yes, after the efforts were made, the dice rolled and the dust settled, one hit managed to get through from the giant bouge, or whatever it's called, that this assassin is wielding, past the armour of the elite operative. So for 2 blood there, and both of them carrying quite a lot of stun, through all the effort they put in. Okay, let's see what happens with the Soldiers of Fortune. These Soldiers of Fortune responded with Deathstroke himself taking an activation. He had audacity. He vaulted over various obstacles to get into contact with this sewer marker, but instead of anything else, he decided he was going to use his modified assault gun on Talia al Ghul. He moved up to within 8 inches, where his exploit the weakness trait meant that she couldn't effort more than twice to reduce his dice pool. He activated his good aim trait as well, which cancelled out the moving penalty for his assault weapon. So overall, he was basically rolling, but she did effort twice, sorry. So overall, he was rolling 2 attack dice on force to hit her, which he unfortunately, uncharacteristically of the world's greatest assassin, he actually missed both, even with the reroll he got for his red dot, for the red dot laser sight he had. So good dodging there from Talia. I guess that's what you get for being trained, being part of the League of Assassins and trained by the best. The League of Assassins now, and Talia, having just dodged a whole hail of gunfire, she decided to activate. She didn't have audacity, so she can only do 1 action. With the action, she moved across from in front of this car, across the way. She's actually quite fast. She's movement 10 with acrobatics, so you can move 11 inches. Wasn't quite enough to get into Dreadnought Op over there. That would have been fun to have faced him down for next turn, but she is here. She's moved over here. She's actually now contesting that domination marker, so because the now KO'd assassin cannot, so that might actually just save 3 victory points there for the league, so it could be a valuable move, that. Okay, and with the Soldiers of Fortune now, they activated infiltrate operative, who moved out from behind the big column there from the monorail and opened fire. With her light assault rifle into the assassin. She used the assault function on it to avoid losing too many dice, and actually managed to do quite a lot of hits. She's taken 4 blood off of him. Not enough to knock him down, not enough to take him out either, but yes, he's very, very hurt. She then used her special action to hack this suspect marker from the League from over here, just to see if she can disrupt anything, and she's always inspired anyway because she has a radio, so she used her bonus manipulate to put down a suspect marker of her own. Moving back to the League, Ubu activated. He started over here next to his Master Race. He moved over here with audacity. He used his manipulate action to put down a suspect marker. He then tried to inspire fear in the infiltrate operative to try and possibly even scare her to death. Could happen in this. He efforted once to reduce the number of dice the infiltrate op would be using. Nonetheless, she only failed by a little bit, just suffered the scared effect, which will cease to have any effect as of the end of the turn, so really didn't actually do anything, unfortunately for him. But yes, that completes Ubu's activation. Back to the Soldiers of Fortune. Right, back over here for the last activation of the Soldier of Fortune turn. The Elite Op had actually a difficult choice to make. He can't shoot when now he's actually in base-to-base contact because of his gun. And it's not an assault weapon, so he'd lose quite a lot of dice. He didn't have audacity either, so he'd only be able to do one thing. He could have moved, just along. He could have dropped to his death, I suppose. That would have been fun. But he could have moved over here, perhaps, and hoped that his team got the next turn. I don't know. Instead, though, the assassin he's in combat with, after all the efforts of previously, has only got 1 willpower left to go. He's taken 3 stun damage. He only has 4 willpower. So he gambled on actually having a swing with his fists, just to see if he could push the teetering assassin over a bit. Actually rolled quite well as well. He put 1 effort in just to get that extra dice. The assassin couldn't effort anymore. Scored 3 hits, but the assassin, with combat braces, giving him defensive bonuses, actually managed to block every single hit, and the strength die didn't come up trumps for him either. So yeah, that was nothing. That's just 1 point of effort for no return, but it was a calculated risk. Over to the League of Assassins for their last model, I think. And finally, of course, we're here for Ra's al Ghul's move. It wasn't actually as climactic as you hope. He did have audacity, but what he did was he moved into the centre of the park. He's clearly not intimidated by the presence of Deathstroke over here. Not after that display of shooting, anyway, I suppose, earlier. He actually put down a suspect marker in the middle, just over here, you can see. With that, he then played We Cannot Be Defeated. Let's see if I can... Here we are. You have at least 3 friendly suspects played within 6 inches of each other. There they are, nice little triangle of them there. So this scores immediately for the league. 2 points there. Gets them off the bottom as well. Gets them on the scoring board. And yes, he's kind of like in a come at me bro kind of pose. I guess there aren't many people who could face down Deathstroke, or I'd be confident of doing so, and I guess he's one of them. So, yeah, we'll see. I think that takes it to the end of the models, the miniatures, all movements and everything. So we'll go on to phase 4 for cleanup and see what happens there. Right, on to the cleanup, the final part, phase 4, whatever you want to call it, of turn 1. Not an awful lot happened. Everyone who had stun damage took 1 off. Talia actually having Talia in the League of Assassins crew actually means that the assassins are all on mind control substances, so all of their henchmen automatically recover from being knocked out. So this guy over here, instead of being knocked out, he's now knocked down now. He's now 1 stun away from being knocked out again, having been considered to pass his willpower test, basically. The domination marker comes off. There is Talia and the Dreadnought are both here. That means that the Soldier Fortune do not outnumber the League of Assassins nearby. This gets picked up and removed. Let's see what else. Yes, of course. However, the League of Assassins did have a card to play from their hand. Do not deviate from the plan. The opponent doesn't reveal any of your suspects this round, and they have certainly placed at least 1. They placed 4, in fact. Yeah, they did move 1, but they didn't actually reveal 1. So, yeah, so that does score. That's 2 victory points for the Leagues of Assassins. And we'll be able to start turn 2. See if this game can hot up a bit. Now everyone's a bit closer. Right, into turn 2, and again I amalgamated the first 2 phases, although so much happened that might be a mistake on my part, but I'll try and get everyone through it all. Right, so in the raise the plan phase, the initiative phase basically, first of all both sides played a card from their hand for objective purposes. The League of Shadows, or Assassins, I keep mixing them up I think, played from the Shadows a card with some text on it. Basically for 2 points they now have to nominate a model on the opposing side, which in this case they've nominated the Dreadnought op because it's fairly embroiled. If this is the first model on the Soldiers of Fortune side to go down as a casualty, they'll score 2 points. They've marked him for death basically. And the Soldiers of Fortune crew have again played a domination card. I'll just bring that up. Yep, there it is again. Another domination after the first one failed, but yeah, this poor bloke over here gets the domination marker next to him again. Again, it's dragging resources over here. We'll see if that pays off for them, Cotton. And yes, so and then we rolled for the initiative. I'll go over here. Again, the blue dice is the League of Assassins. Again, pitiful roll from the Soldiers of Fortune. So yes, Ra's al Ghul and his minions have got the initiative once again this turn. They'll be moving first. On to the Raise the Plan phase, I believe it's called, where audacity markers and such are placed, assigned. Talia al Ghul used her ability, her scheming ability, to actually move these suspect markers here, which are in the park, a bit closer together, so they're a bit harder to get at, basically, for the Soldiers of Fortune. So that's what she did in this phase. Audacity markers have now been assigned for the League. We've got Ra's al Ghul, Ubu, Talia this time, and the downed assassin. So he can actually get up and maybe do some hitting. On the Soldiers of Fortune side, as you can see, Dreadnought Op has got one. Of course, Deathstroke the Terminator, see if he can pick up his game. We gave one to the Elite Operative up here, see if he can get out of dodge. And the Infiltrate Operative down here. The only person who didn't get one is Bird, who is over here behind around the corner. Okay, so it's ready. It's time to start moving models and such. In the I think, what's it called? The third phase of the turn. Name escapes me for the moment. Let's see what happens. Okay, kicking things off for the League of Assassins, Talia activated. She jumped across the car and attacked the Dreadnought Top in close combat, and boy, that was it was a pretty horrible attack as well. They both efforted 3 times, since most of the damage being dealt in this game seems to be blood damage anyway. And yes, she got a critical hit with her strength die, and with the bleed that inflicts, as well as her being overwhelming and yes, being 2 blood basic anyway, she actually managed to do 7 points of blood damage to the Dreadnought Op, and his endurance is 7, so unfortunately for Dreadnought Op, he is dead. And this does score the aforementioned From the Shadows card for the League of Assassins. They did nominate him, they marked him for death, and boy did he get it. So unfortunately he's not the most offensive model. He's quite tough and he has armour, but he's just not able to stand up to attacks like that. There were some very good rolls. I forgot to mention actually that during her turn she also played as an objective, we cannot be defeated, same as last turn. You have at least 3 suspects in play that are within 6 inches of each other. I actually messed up the scoring a tiny bit. It wasn't very consequential actually, in the last time I played it. But yes, these 3 suspects are still within 6 inches of each other, certainly, even more so thanks to her ability to move them. What it means is the actual scoring of this happens at the end of the turn. So if there are still 3 suspects fitting this pattern at the end of the turn, then it will score at that point. Okay. But yes, the Soldiers of Fortune, despite taking an early lead, are actually it seems like they're starting to have their whole plan come unstuck. Right, well, Soldiers of Fortune replied in style with the Infiltrate Op activating. I keep saying she's one of my favourite miniatures to use, and yeah, she proved why now. First, so she activated with Audacity. The first thing she did was to use her special ability, Hacking, to hack away 2 of the suspect markers. One of the ones in this little triumvirate down here has appeared above the monkey bars, and the other one was the one that was on the road next to her has been moved a bit further down. It's spoiled We Cannot Be Defeated, the card for the League of Assassins, so they have to now react to that to put their affairs back in order, shall we say. Next, she moved back here, and because she has a radio, she gets a bonus manipulate action. She always counts as being in Inspire range, basically. So with that, she then placed a suspect marker behind her there, as you can see, the little red one. With it, and she played Invasion from the hand, which I don't know if you can see it here. There's a lot of text. I'll try and summarise it. She's placed the suspect within 4 inches of that column she's next to. This column is within 4 inches of the assassin. What that means is, once she does that, she rolls a dice, rolled a 5. That suspect marker has got a number counter with a 5 on it correspondingly. At the end of each turn, every model's turn that is, that counter will reduce by 1 once it reaches 0. So if the assassins can't get rid of it, they will the Soldiers of Fortune will score 2 points. Right, and then finally, just to top it all off, she has an assault weapon. She still had her attack action. She has its assault, so she rolled a whole bunch of dice and managed to do 4 blood damage with the light rifle to the assassin who she targeted and nearly killed last turn. So yeah, he is down. That was a heck of an activation. We'll see what the League of Assassins can do in response and answer. Yeah, well, Ubu activated for the League next. As you can see, he jumped the fence. He walked over here. He was inspired by Ra's al Ghul through proximity. He is a henchman, so he can be inspired. With that bonus manipulate action he got, he placed a suspect marker, which he used immediately to score under their noses. Nice, simple. Place a suspect marker within 4 inches of an enemy suspect marker. Well, take your pick. There's 2 there. So that's scored for the League straight away. He then used his special ability to inspire fear in the infiltrate op. Again, got the scared result. So she was -1 to her defense rolls for the duration of this turn, but he actually tried to put that into practice this time by swinging his massive sword. It's got reach, so he can attack from there. He didn't have the move to get into base contact because she backed up, but hadn't factored in the size of his weapon. And yes, so he rolled his dice. He kind of fluffed it. He didn't really, I mean, he gets a lot of dice, but she is defense 5, so he's hitting on 5s, which his customary failed to do. His strength die did, however, get her, and she can't block that anyway, so no defense rolls for her necessary, really. She takes 2 blood for the 1 hit that got to her, and that's it. They're both activated over here. Let's see what happens next. Well, the Soldiers of Fortune didn't mess around. Deathstroke activated. He leapt straight on top of this car and attacked Talia al Ghul. He managed to, yes, he rolled a whole bucket of dice with his bastard sword. She rolled again with her defense. It was his weapon master. He had devastating blow activated, so it was pretty horrible. And as you can see, he did 8 blood damage when the dust settled to her, which is enough to kill her in 1 round of combat. As Nathan Explosion would say, brutal. In doing so, he did score a card from his hand, I believe. Hang on, I'll just fetch it. Yes, Search and Destroy. Here we go. Yeah, the friendly model scores at least 2 hits from activation where it performed at least 2 efforts. Normally in the Soldiers of Fortune crew, this is something they tend to pair up with liberal use of Venom, which gives them bonus attacks and everything. But yeah, he certainly did activate twice to counteract the effort that she put in. And he certainly caused at least 2 hits. He sliced and diced, so yes, she's dead, and it's over to the League of Assassins to see what happens next. Right, and the League retaliated. We returned to this odd camera angle up on top of the monorail thing, carriage, that's what I was trying to say. The assassin up here has taken a swing. He didn't have audacity, he didn't have to move or use a special though, so he just keeps swinging away at the elite op. The only attack that actually got through after the because the armor reduces the dice and everything, was the strength die, which was a 6, so it knocked the elite op down without anything the elite op could do about it. That's the dangers of close combat in this game. Yes, both sides efforted once, so as you can see there, that's where the stun comes from. And so the elite op is flagging. He's only got 2 endurance left. If he gets another hit like that, he's dead, but he hasn't activated this turn, so we'll see what happens in the Soldiers of Fortune turn. Yep, a fairly uneventful next bit for the next activation for the Soldiers of Fortune. What happened? They activated Bird, who was inspired by Deathstroke's presence from being so nearby, and nipped round the corner to the domination marker and literally just manipulated it to move it over here out of base contact from the assassin. It couldn't get it really far enough away, the assassin can't reach it, but it does force the League of Shadows to react to that, really, if they want to stop this from scoring. He would have to move there, so he wouldn't be in base contact, couldn't attack anyone, blah blah blah. But there wasn't an awful lot more he could do without Audacity, to be honest. So we'll see how that works out. And yes, as anticipated, the assassin was next to activate. He stood up and he walked over and just sort of punted the domination marker a bit further away. It was that was it was like a strange game of association, like a strange move of association football there, I suppose. But it does, however, stop this from scoring, so it is well worth it. 3 victory points is nothing to be sniffed at, even though he didn't get to do anything more interesting. Yeah, and as I believe the Soldiers of Fortune final move for turn 2, final activation I should say, get the vocabulary right, the Elite Op actually did activate. He's had enough of messing around on the roof of Metro cars with ninjas, and he stood up. He actually has a grapple gun as well, paid for out of funding, and he decided to use it to get down here onto the jungle gym. He always liked them as a kid, I suppose, and he removed the League of Assassin's suspect marker there, just for a bit of annoyance, just in case they find some way to travel it back over here to score their outstanding "We Cannot Be Defeated" card. So that is his turn. It was just something fresh for him to do. And we'll see what happens with the last actions of the turn. Well, I'd just like to add, I forgot to say that as his objective card that he played, the Elite Operative actually did play Free for All from his hand. It's another one that will score at the end of the turn if the conditions are met. Have more models than the opponent within 4 inches of the centre of the gaming area. He's currently more or less at the centre of the gaming area, just a little bit away from it. I think it's those Scrabble pieces there which actually mark the centre. So we'll see if that plays out for the end of the turn. Right, and to cap off the second turn's activations again, Ghul went. For a number of reasons, he flounced off over here with his big flowing cape and his minion, and placed a suspect marker over here. Okay, what it does is it does actually count for the "We Cannot Be Defeated." It also, from his hand, it scores under their noses again. Another version of this card, where he places this suspect marker within 4 inches of the enemy red suspect marker just there, so scoring. So it is a bit of a double whammy, and therefore is worth his time, I would say. Unfortunately, he didn't actually. There was no way he could have gone over here, say, just to place another suspect marker and do the same thing, because he would have been too close to the other existing ones, which would have then prevented the free-for-all objective that this guy just played. All very technical, kind of baffling if you don't know the cards, but this was pretty much the only play he could have done to score that many points without, and he wasn't able to deny the other points either. So that's his turn. That concludes the activations for this second turn. We'll go to the cleanup phase, part 4. Okay, the cleanup phase of the second turn. So after taking off all the various bits of stun damage here and there, there was nobody knocked out this turn, just killed, and so there was no recovery rolls to make or anything like that. In terms of objective card scoring, the League of Assassins did manage to finally get "We Cannot Be Defeated" scored. They have their 3 suspect markers within 6 inches of each other, so that scores. On the Soldiers of Fortune side, the domination marker is once again denied after a bit of gymnastics from the assassins. That didn't come to anything for the Soldiers of Fortune, so that card is back on the discard pile. However, the invasion up here, I forgot to say, the counter did turn down. There's very little that the assassins could do about it anyway, so the 2 victory points for invasion do come to fruition for the soldiers. And the free-for-all played at the end by the Elite Op. He is there's more model. The Soldiers of Fortune have more models than the League of Assassins within 4 inches of the centre of the gaming area, and so this card does score, and it goes on the victory points pile. I have lost track of who's in the lead, but that's fine. We'll find out at the end, of course, and I'm sure there's all to play for. Okay, we're going into turn 3 now. Right, turn 3 starts again. I have amalgamated the first 2 phases. In the first phase, the take the lead phase, determine who gets initiative. Before that was happening, the League of Assassins played From the Shadows again. Has to be played in the first phase of the turn. They nominated the Elite Operative sitting in the middle on the Jungle Gym. Just there, yeah, as their target. If he dies first, they on the Soldier of Fortune side, they score that card for 2 victory points. And to keep the theme running, the Soldiers of Fortune once again played Domination, the card whereby they place a domination token next to an opposing model and then have more models at the end of the turn near it than the opposing side. Again, they put it down there on this poor guy. He just can't seem to catch a break, but he hasn't been dominated yet. He's a good, strong boy. And we'll see if he can keep it up, shall we? Because yes, he's got Deathstroke and Bird next to him, and he is only a lowly assassin, so with all of his friends are over there. We'll see what happens, okay? For the second phase, the Raise the Plan phase, it's quite easy to tell who gets Audacity, because both sides, both crews are down to 4 models each, so that made it nice and easy. 4 counters and 4 models each. Everyone's got Audacity now. Let's see what happens. And of course I missed the most important part of that entire section there. I forgot to say I rolled for initiative, and again the blue dice are the League of Assassins, and yes, you can see there the Soldiers of Fortune, Deathstroke et al. Have actually got the initiative for this turn, so they'll be going first. Now let's see what happens. Right, first action of the turn, the Elite Operative decided to go first, especially seeing as he had just been marked for death, so might as well get as most out of him as possible. He activated with Audacity on the top here. He actually took aim at Ghul, the temerity of him, with his assault rifle, very powerful weapon. Does 3 blood damage per hit. He had all his dice as well, but Rash's natural defense of 5, so 5's to hit. Only the strength die did it with the firearm rule, and so the 1 hit translates into 3 blood damage on Ghul. What happens next, I don't know. It's a dangerous part. Next thing he decided to do, since he had Audacity, was to book it over here as quickly as possible for reasons best known to himself. Yes, we'll see what happens next in the next activation. Right, the League of Assassins responded with Ubu running back into the children's playground, ending up about an inch or so away from Elite Op. He did try to inspire fear in him for Veritas help, but then he attacked. Various results on the inspire fear, doesn't really matter. The attack did way enough to finish off Elite Op, unfortunately, and murked him good and proper some. So that kills Elite Op, and that does then score the From the Shadows card. As being marked for death by League of Assassins does usually only mean there's one eventuality there. So yeah, that's a score for them, and we'll see what happens next in retaliation. Okay, next thing we know, the Soldiers of Fortune have activated. Bird, who's now got Audacity for the first time in the game, I think. No, second actually, he had it on first turn, doesn't matter. He walked up to the assassin, who's got the domination marker next to him, as you can see here. First of all, he activated his military tradition to get Deathstroke to move down off the car there. Just a little bonus move for him. And then he used his combat machete, on the assassin to brutal effect. Eventually got 4 hits through after the defensive rolls from the assassin had taken their course, which is enough for 4 more blood, 4 more stun, which not only knocks out the assassin but also kills him the assassin, if you remember earlier, took a bit of a mauling at the hands of Dreadnoughtops, so didn't really have much left to go. So yes, that removes this assassin finally. And yes, the domination marker here is looking pretty comfortably in the hands of the Soldiers of Fortune now. Oh, and again, I forgot to mention the card I was playing from the hand. As you can see, Bird, as part of that tag, did effort 3 times, just to make sure, really. And he's not really in any danger of anything coming his way for the time being, so I thought it was safe. He did actually play Search and Destroy, so he scored at least 2 hits during action where he performed at least 2 efforts. He certainly did. That scores the 2 points for the Soldiers of Fortune. And yes, that was that's a very looking like a good scoring activation for the Soldiers of Fortune. Yeah. As a fairly disappointingly uneventful activation to follow up those last 2, we had the assassin who was up on top of the Capital Metro there. He's used his grapple gun just to move down here back into the main gaming area, shall we say, and yes, he's just decided he's going to go on the far side of the column from the as yet unactivated infiltrate op, and yeah, that's all he can do. He can't place a suspect marker, he's too close to that one nearby, but yeah, he's back in the mix again, and maybe he'll be able to do something in the last turn. Right, and in an apocalyptic return to form for turn 3 so far, Deathstroke activated for the Soldiers of Fortune. He vaulted and jumped around and acrobated over various pieces of scenery, which he can totally do. He had more than enough movement to get there, to get into combat with Ubu. If you're going after the Master, might as well deal with the bodyguard first. And yes, he attacked with the Bastard Sword. He activated his Devastating Blow special roll again, and yeah, he Ubu actually isn't as easy to kill as you'd think. You know, he's a big soft target, but nonetheless, no, he has 8 endurance. He's only defense 3, which meant that Deathstroke was hitting on 2s. But I did give him combat braces for equipment, which let him re-roll his things. But nonetheless, even with that, 4 hits, including both of the strength hits, both got through, each doing 2 blood damage each, which was 8 blood damage. He's got endurance 8, so Ubu dies in 1 round of combat. That was pretty heinous. And yes, Deathstroke did have to effort 3 times on purpose, and that enabled him, to score Search and Destroy from his hand. He did cause at least 2 hits, and he win it during action, which he used at least 2 efforts. So that's 2 more points for the Soldiers of Fortune, and another dead model. Wow, let's see if this turn 3 can carry on being interesting. Right, well, the League of Assassins struck back in style. What they did was they activated Ra's al Ghul with Audacity, of course. He strolled down the park a little bit, and with reach on his sword, he can attack from 1 inch away, so that's his advantage. He attacked Deathstroke in close combat. Across the seesaws there, and oh, hang on, I've got that wrong. He actually he activated his Deadly Strike ability with his special action, which means that any critical hit, if he did score a critical hit with the strength die, which would require a 6 on that strength die, he would cause instant death to Deathstroke, which is quite interesting. What that means is that unfortunately he didn't get that. He did cause 4 hits altogether after defense. No, actually 4 hits he caused. Sorry. Deathstroke defended. He managed to cancel out 2 of those, and so he took 2 hits worth of damage. Actually, I do believe the Kevlar vest reduces that down to 3 damage now. Sorry, and yeah, there we go, back to 3. Deathstroke is actually, because of all the efforts he's put in across the course of the game and everything, he's actually up to the top of his effort limit now, so he can't effort again, which is potentially quite bad for him, because at this point in time, Ra's, as his players is playing as an objective his own specialised card, Lord of the Pits, where if there's a friendly boss within 8 inches of the enemy boss, which there clearly is, so I'm just trying to get that in focus. Maybe there, yeah. Yes, basically Rachel gets a free move, and both of them fight in combat simultaneously against each other. If Raish actually if Raish now kills Deathstroke in this special bonus melee, he will score this card. So I'll just turn the camera off and roll the dice and see what happens and report back. Oh boy, okay, well that was interesting. That was spectacular actually. Okay, both sides, both Raish and Deathstroke had at each other quite viciously there. Yes, I first of all did Ra's al Ghul, and he did get that magic 6 on the strength roll, so regardless of everything else, Deathstroke did actually take another 3 damage after it, but he is dead. Ra's al Ghul is he is potentially, they're both got credentials for the best assassin in the world, and Raish certainly just proved that. In return, I rolled for Deathstroke's dying lunges, shall we say, and he, after all was said and done, he just didn't have any effort limit left, unfortunately, so that did put him at a bit of a disadvantage against the relatively untried Raish, who could just take that 1 extra dice off, basically, where it counted. He got the 2 strength dice through, inevitably, thanks to his devastating blow, which did 4 blood damage. Wasn't enough though. Raish he did actually also cause a critical, so Raish is knocked down and he is very, very close to death himself. But Deathstroke, on the other hand, is dead, and Ra's al Ghul has scored Lord of the Pits. So for Titanic 3 victory points, we'll see if that pans out as being as spectacular in the victory points counting as it was on the tabletop. Okay, the last activation of turn 3. The Infiltrator has moved around here and placed a suspect. She was over there where the Audacity marker is. She's moved over here and she is playing Invasion. Place a suspect marker within 4 inches of a scenery element that is within 4 inches of an enemy model. We'll choose this big derelict building here, and yep, it definitely fulfills both those criteria. And yes, it allows you roll a dice. She rolled a 2 after 2 subsequent models activation, so we'll be going into next turn. She will score this card if this suspect is still active. Just to add insult to injury, she does still have her special. She will hack this suspect marker somewhere over here, just to put it even further away from the assassins and make it even harder for them to stop to deny. Okay, right, that concludes all the activations to this rather interesting turn 3. I guess we'll see what happens after I've tidied up in the 4th phase of the turn. Right, just having finished the cleanup phase of the 4th turn. There's not an awful lot left. However, the gangs have halved again down to 2 models apiece now, so that was relatively quick just to do that. In terms of scoring cards, the domination marker here is clearly scored by Bird, and so this domination is a bit of another 3 victory points. Titanic, as I said earlier, yes it is, and it goes straight into the scoring pool there. To counter that, the League of Assassins play Do Not Deviate from the Plan, something they play in the 4th phase. So now the opponent, that's the League, the Soldiers of Fortune, haven't revealed any of the suspect markers from the League of Shadows, so yeah, the Assassins can score this one. The Invasion over there, right in the back corner by the fences, you might be able to see, is still ticking down, so we'll see what happens in the next turn for that one. Yeah, we'll go into the next turn. They'll probably be quite short. Yep, as anticipated, a relatively quick first 2 phases of the last turn, the 4th turn. Every model on the board has Audacity. No cards were played for objectives for the turn, not in phase 1 or 2. The initiative roll happened, and the Soldiers of Fortune do have it, despite the +1 on the blue dice there. Would only make it a 5, not enough. The Soldiers of Fortune will be moving first, so let's see if they can do anything with these last few moves. Yes, kicking us off was the Infiltrator. She moved out here, hacked over one of the League of the Shadows suspect markers and revealed it. So that just to stop them from having so many suspect markers on the board, it does stop them from. Several of their objectives require, several of the objective cards rather, require suspect markers in various places, combinations, or just them not to have been revealed. So she's denied that if any of those are lurking in the deck. Could be some last-minute victory points she's stopped. In response to that, the assassin who's left has moved up to the infiltrate op and attacked. She efforted 3 times. He could only effort twice. So, then overall, he just got the strength die to hit her through. It was a critical. She will be knocked down, but that is very inconsequential to the remainder of this game, so I haven't marked it. But yeah, that's the last things that are happening over there. Let's see what Bird can do for the Soldiers of Fortune. Having had a shrewd look at the objective cards in the hand, Bird decided there was really nothing he could do. He didn't fancy running over there to challenge Ra's al Ghul, not after Deathstroke, who's paying him, has been killed anyway. He's decided to make a very wise attempt to escape. He's just going to run over here, far away, just to get generally out of Dodge City and see if possibly this car is still working with its keys in the ignition. You never know. We'll see. And yes, as a rather anticlimactic turn 4 happens, continues, shall I say, Ra's al Ghul has moved out of the park finally and puts down a suspect marker there in pursuit of Bird, I guess. Yes, he has nothing else to do. That pretty much concludes the turn. The movement part of the turn. Just turn part 4 to go see if anyone's scoring any cards. Oh, I forgot to mention the invasion card up there scored a couple of activations ago. So there we go. Just 2 more points for the Soldiers of Fortune. We'll go to part 4, to phase 4 of the turn, and see if anything scores there. And yes, when all was said and done, there was a final twist to the knife in this drama. In their hand, the League of Assassins had another they do have do not deviate from the plan, but they can't score it because the infiltrate op wisely decided to take off one of their suspects, which means they cannot score this one. This one can only be scored if no suspects were removed. But however, by having 5 suspect markers on the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to the, I believe it's 4 of the Soldiers of Fortune, the League of Assassins can score Eradicate the Order, where they have more suspects than your opponent in play. Nice and simple. Scores in the 4th phase, which is now 3 points. Nasty. Goes there, and yes, that concludes the battle. All there is now to do is to count up the victory points and see who's won. It's been quite highly scoring for both sides, so I'll be interested to see who actually takes it. Right, so here we go. Just get them into camera shot. Okay, here's the actual scored cards for both the teams. I think we'll start with the Soldiers of Fortune. So let's see what they managed to score over the course of the game. So counting the number in the top left corner there is the victory point. So it's 2. So yes, 2, 4, 7, 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 points. Okay, 20 points. Normally I say that's a high score, but there's a fair old wad of cards here for the league, so we'll see what they get. 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 20, 22 points. 22 plays 20 there, so the league takes it by a hair. I mean, that's such a high scoring point. That's a very narrow margin of victory. I mean, obviously, every single card that scored was important in that one, but you know how crucial was the the decisive killing blow on Deathstroke from Rage himself, which scored 3 points and, you know, could be said to have swung it. But like I said, any of the cards in here, you know, would have been at least stopping that from being a draw. So yes, that was a very hard fought one. I mean, yeah, really showed the strengths of both the teams as well, I think, as well. Very enjoyable to play. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm going to hopefully get some more of these up as well over the course of time and, well, effort allowing. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, this has been Shield Wall 100, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks very much.